All right. Welcome, Jamie Wilson.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Very, very appreciated.
Thank you, sir. This is a huge honor. We have a lot of topics to cover, so let's get started. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you re remember when you first began to stutter?
Yeah. I would have been about 5. Um, I remember a summer holiday at school when basically I started to stammer. No obvious cause that I'm aware of, certainly none that were explained to me, but it was unfortunately pointed out by my peers when I went back to school. Um, so yeah, that's sort of etched in my brain and memory. So about 5 or 6 years of age, and yeah, it's been there ever since. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, um, or obviously um, more fluent and sort of less fluent. But yeah, absolutely.
Does it run in your family? Are there any other family members who stutter?
My grandfather on my mother's side had a stammer for throughout his entire life. Um, my mother stammered as a child, but it went away. Again, insidious, no obvious onset, but equally, she didn't seek speech therapy or any form of intervention, and then it went. And then me, other than that, none that I'm aware of.
Well, let me tell you, Jamie, you and I, you know, um, you know, w- 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 um, we have a commonality. Uh, you know, um, not the obvious one. However, my mom, she also had, she had a stutter. Um, I don't know what age she had it. However, in her teenage years, she had told herself, "I'm done with this. I mean, I'm stopping. I'm done," and it went away. Jamie, it's gone. It's
Yeah,
gone. And so, I mean, I don't know if it's girl power. I don't know, but I mean, we're all different. I still have mine. It's all good. It's all good. But um, um, I find it interesting that your mom also had it, and then it had went away. So I mean,
yeah, and she would be conscious of if she has um, a period of stress, not from an anxiety perspective, but if she'd been stressed for a long time and was tired, wasn't and sort of wasn't sleeping properly, she would be conscious about stammering. Now, even as a stammerer, I couldn't really identify it, and throughout my life, I am not conscious of her ever stammering. But she would still be conscious of it in adulthood. Her brother, my uncle, passed away St. Patrick's Day last year, and she did stammer a little bit, and you could see it in the days following, just through not sleeping properly and that type of thing, which was unusual. I say, I'd never witnessed her stammering, nor am I ever aware of anyone who's like achieved fluency, if I can achieve that, if I can say that, regressing, if I can also say that, like picking up the stammer. I don't know, but certainly she did to a degree. But she would have been conscious of it. But I had never witnessed it until fairly recently. So yeah, odd.
well, sir, first of all, I want to tell you that I'm sorry for your loss. Um, and um, I mean, with having a stammer, with having a stutter, uh, I think we still need to have a lot of research on it, be, be, because I mean, there are days when just everything comes out, and there are days when when nothing comes out, not due to fear,
Hmm.
anxiety. I mean, it can be, I mean, who knows? Who knows? And so, I mean, I'm hoping to everyone out there who's hearing this awesome podcast with, Mr. Wilson, we need more research out there.
Yeah, I'm a good example actually of how varied it can be. I remember as an adolescent, I could not speak at times. Severe blockage and just no sounds, no nothing. Most adult days, I can loosely masquerade as fluent. Um, Sometimes I have to ad lib and like word avoid. I know the stammering world will be wincing at me for not stammering proud, but sometimes if I'm doing a brief, it's easier to appear fluent or at least masquerade as fluent for a short period. Um, but I've been there when on the days, as you say, some days nothing comes out. Some days are not that bad, for want of a better term. I've acknowledged fatigue as a big trigger for me. If I sleep well and exercise well, my speech is okay. If I'm tired, I don't mean a bit sleepy, but if I've been going through something for a prolonged period, not sleeping properly, my speech again is quite disfluent. I'll suffer from a lot of blocks. Um, the phonics haven't really changed since I was young, Lou. I'm not sure if they should have. I don't know if I've bucked the trend there or not, but GL, CL words, that sort of hard noise, glit and clit, I just can't do it. Um, just doesn't come out. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Oh yes, I know exactly what you mean because I mean, um I did a study. Um for a whole week, I got 8 hours of rest. And that's hard. I mean, that's hard cuz um normally I get 5 hours. However, I said, "Look, I will get 8 hours and then I'll see what happens speech-wise." And I mean, you hit it right on the nose. I mean, if I had 8 hours, I mean, it was, I had, you know, l- less repetitions and less, b- b- uh, b- 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 you know, blocks. And if I got, on average 4 hours or 5 hours, it's like, forget about it, Jamie, forget about
Yeah,
it. I'll
totally,
be here. I
totally.
mean, yeah. And so it's like, okay. And so I mean, um, I just have to make a conscious note. I need to get some more rest because I mean, I don't have to tell you, Jamie, that if you are a person who stutters, I mean, all day long, your whole body is just all tensed up all day long, all of your organs, and then at the end of the day, you're exhausted, Jamie. You're exhausted. I don't have anything left for anybody, not my spouse or my kids. I want to just go home and not talk to anybody,
Yeah,
and then I pray that tomorrow is a better day.
yeah. And the thing is, like, it's very funny that you even use those terms because I'd say only a year and a half ago I made the conscious realization that I still associated a good day and a bad day with my speech. So not what I'd achieved, what I'd done that day, how productive I'd been, how meaningful what I'd done in life, whatever. I still associated good day, good speaking day, bad speaking day. Same with job interviews. Sometimes I'd walk out and think that went okay, wouldn't get the job. Otherwise, or other times I'd be offered the job, but in my head it had gone worse because my speech had been worse. So it's still ingrained that like good day, good speaking, bad speaking, rather than realizing myself sort of what I was saying was the important part. Um, I suppose you're still at the mercy of the patience of the listener, which is the enduring issue for us all.
Oh yes, sir. And and you know, you make a great point. You know, it's not how it comes out; it's what we. It's, our voice matters. Okay, not how it comes out. It's just, you know, our words. Our voice. And so, I mean, I can't tell you, Jamie, how many job interviews I completely bombed until I reached a point. I said, look, I have a stutter. I may get hung up. I may have a block. I may have repetition. If I get hung up on a word, I want you to give me 8 hours, and hopefully that it will come out. And then when I hear them have a smirk, a smile, or laugh, I know I got them. It's all
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
I got it out there. It's
Yep.
out there. And now I don't have to focus on it. I can just now hit all my skills, my knowledge, my education, my abilities, and then rock it out. So yeah, it took me a
Absolutely.
while. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, I understand that there's an element of that confidence comes with adulthood. You could argue, sort of maturity and experience in some areas. Um, do I wish I'd had it earlier? Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. There were certainly instances where I would have been quieter, so as to not stammer, even if I had the answer. But that's sort of like there's a common trend there. I often think about what engineering innovations or medical approaches and for the next generation are actually locked in the minds of a stammerer that we're not currently patient enough to listen to. There could be kids all over the world whose brains are a step ahead, but we don't know because no one's patient enough to actually listen. We haven't unlocked that yet. Um, and I was guilty of that. For a long time, I would just stay quiet rather than speak for the fear of ridicule, which is not it's not good. Which perhaps speaks of the education environment. Maybe we'll see.
Ooh, and I mean, you hit on the word education, school environment. You
Mm.
know, and not wanting to talk. And so, let me tell you, Jamie, when I was in school, ooh, it was rough. I mean, I ate alone in um in the um we have custodians, um a a um j- 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 um let me see, a custodian is like a janitor here.
Hmm.
And so during school I would go there in their room, where where they had all of the mops and the brooms and the cleaning, da da da. That's where I would go to go hang out and eat my lunch, because school wise nobody wanted to hang around the kid who couldn't talk, and then you know who would spit and sputter when I did speak. And so I mean, I spent the bulk of my school time, you I'm isolated. So yeah.
Yeah. My primary school, so from the ages of 4 till 11, I didn't have a particularly good time. For much the same reasons, really. Didn't speak, was quite anxious when I did speak. Definitely, in hindsight, I definitely had an anxiety disorder as a child, but it was all as a result of stammering, bullying, and that type of thing. Secondary school, so from the ages of 12 to 18, it was like sort of flicking a switch because the school was so big. They were able to, I was able to acknowledge strengths and weaknesses and fall into a crowd. That said, whilst general contentment was better, there are definitely instances, although I wouldn't have eaten alone, for example, I would have eaten food that I didn't like because I could order it. You know what I mean? I would stay quiet when it could have been funny. So then you're not associated with who you really are because you have to. you have to don the mask of fluency, or at least, or being quiet. So secondary school was much better as an overall experience for me. Um, Still obviously haunted, as we all are, for buying bus tickets. I'm not sure if it's a thing across the world, but like whenever I was still young, you still had to like step onto the bus and tell the driver where you're going and then get your money out. And I always had to buy a ticket to like the next stop on from where I wanted to go, so I could say it. Get a single instead of a return because it was easier for me to say, that type of thing. So that was still there, but I say I'm fortunate, and I'm aware that I'm fortunate that actually my 12 to 18 years were much better for me than my earlier years. And I started to understand, despite my speech, I have strengths to bring. And it was really that experience that I would say helped build the confidence to then go on, go to university, and that type of thing. Previously, and as a result of the sort of primary education, I didn't. I was very much, as you say, the sort of the solitary kid. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to know where to go from that situation. Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? What can you bring? Yeah.
Um,
I suspect too that there's lots of listeners that sort of are relate to both. You know what I mean?
uh, 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 um, I mean, talking about school, had you ever had speech therapy? And if you did, was it helpful?
Yes and no. So I had it, and it was not helpful. Um, I can really start to scratch the surface on this one, so I'm sorry for the time of your podcast. Um, but I, I eventually stuck my hand up and I agreed to go to speech therapy. I didn't like being the odd one out, being the sort of nail that sticks out tends to get hammered, as a rule. I went. The speech therapist. Firstly, there was no consistency in therapists due to probably staffing issues within the health service. Um, Also, stammering or stuttering. There was obviously a very limited awareness of specialist approach, and that was immediately clear. So, whilst from a personality perspective, they were all perfectly well-meaning and kind and nice and personable, there was no depth to what they were trying to say. I've heard horror stories that are still ongoing, where you've got adolescents, generally men, obviously because of the prevalence within stammering, having to recite nursery rhymes and things. Like, this is not Victorian England. You know what I mean? This is not a therapy for stuttering or for stammering. So yes, I tried speech therapy. Was it helpful? No. I don't want to mar speech therapists that are out there that might be angrily frowning at their phone. I have absolute faith that some therapeutic approaches and like techniques will help. I say help with bated breath. You know what I mean? It may it, they may encourage the appearance of fluency. Um, but the long-awaited cure, if you know what I mean, I still, I don't know. I think that the goals from speech therapy need to be readdressed from an early stage. So yeah, I have faith that some speech therapists can help with fluency. I have faith that some other therapeutic intervention can help the child accept their speech and who they are. But I personally did not gain anything from it. And if anything, it polarized me and made me realize I am different. Dig in now, Jamie, and you might need to fight. So I'm not sure if you have similar or different.
Well, let me tell you, Jamie, I've had 20 years of speech therapy. That's
Mm,
a that is a I mean, woo, I mean that is a very long time. And um I had a good speech therapist. However, um they were um kind and professional.
yep,
However, the tools that they had used, you know, in in my opinion, they weren't very helpful. We had to do, a tape recorder. They would have a long, card that um, had mag- a magnetic strip, and they would put it into the recorder, and they would, have you read a couple of lines, and so it would record you, and then they would have it, all played back. And so it's like, oh, good Lord, that's how I sound. I mean, it made it so much worse. Made me feel, good Lord, I am here. I am the only one in this school. And here is what other kids are hearing me talk. No wonder I'm hammered, as you say, hammered and bullied and teased and mocked, that it's like, okay, and um, I had hoped and wished. Um, I learned this later in my speech therapy. I had wished that they had addressed the mental health aspect.
Yeah.
You know, um, how to handle the stress. How to handle the darkness. How to handle the bullies. However, in my day, because I'm a lot older than you are, Jamie. I think I'm twice your age. But
You're definitely not twice my age. I can tell you that right now. It's just a very sympathetic light.
yeah,
Um,
you're killing me, Jamie. You're killing me. Oh, and so um, they were just the goal back then, and this was in 19. Let me see, 1978. Yeah, a long time ago, Jamie. The goal was they wanted to have me talk like everybody else.
yeah,
And it's like, I mean, I'm sorry. That's not gonna work for Pedro because
we
it's
aren't any different, dude. It's the
yeah,
same approach. They
yeah.
say, "Oh, we've acknowledged the issues," but they haven't. Even today, in fact, I'm going to talk as I fill up my beer. So
Okay.
even today, if you Google stuttering success stories, stammering success stories, just stick it into Google. How many of those cases are people who are now fluent or able to appear fluent? Nearly all of them. Now, what does that tell a child who can never achieve fluency if the only way to be sort of categorized as a success is to be fluent? You know what I mean? And these are our organizations. These are the stammering foundations, associations, charities, blah 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 blah. It's them that are doing this nearly. Oh, this person used to stammer. They're one of us. Like, no, they're not. You know what I mean? In the nicest possible way, they're not. And we need to say, actually, this individual is a success despite their stammer. Alan Turing, I don't know if in the States there, you mean, so Alan Turing,
Yes.
a clever man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, in my mind, saved the free world. One of my absolute heroes, stammered. In the film, which is essentially an autobiography of him, did he stammer? No.
No.
Didn't
No,
fit
he
the
did
hero.
not.
Didn't fit the hero narrative. You can't
Yeah.
have the hero that stammers. Ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There are
Exactly.
Nobel
Yeah.
Prize winners, field marshals, decorated military veterans that all stammer, but it doesn't fit the hero narrative. So it's not even like we're trying to engineer a story that can't be told. It's there. We just can't tell it, because people don't let us. I mean, it's not doesn't fit the media diet of silk speech that we're fed on a daily basis. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
that's that's my annoyance. So,
oh, no, 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 no. I mean, ooh. You hit a hot topic, b- because how we how we are portrayed, you know. in the media and movies, if you have a stutter, you are not intelligent. And it's
Yeah,
like, no, that is not true. That, I mean, ooh, and oh, it just angers me. However, that's the old Pedro. You know, um, you know, um, now what I do is I educate. I don't get angry anymore. I mean, I get a little irritated, but now that I'm older, what I want to do is, I want to educate everybody, and tell them what you had learned, back in the day. No, no, that is not the truth. Because, I mean, people who stutter, and I tell this to everybody, we are creative. We are re, resourceful, and we are resilient. Because if you knock us down, you best believe I'm getting back up. I'm getting back up. Because people who stutter, we are doctors, and we are lawyers, and we are congressmen. We're in the military. We are coaches. I mean, and we are just awesome. And that is what I want to get out there. And so, I thank you for highlighting that movie, because I love that movie. And so I knew that he had a stutter, and so I was wondering, why aren't we hearing it? Why
yeah.
aren't we hearing it? And it's like, oh, here we go again, Hollywood.
Even if you look at the King's Speech, again, hopefully you've seen the King's Speech. Big fan of King's Speech. Obviously, King George, more of a stammering talisman for me. Uh, I don't know if you've seen the reenactments of the King's Speech.
I
Nope.
don't.
You can Google it in the background while I'm talking. So
Okay.
King's Speech, auspices, or the sort of point of the film, obviously, um, stammering, but he's appointed as a royal, as a leader, of the country. And then he overcomes his speech with speech therapy, overcomes it, appears fluent. Again, I appreciate the honest dialogue, and I appreciate the insight into the emotions which you and I would go through, and obviously the stammering community. But I'm still not sure it really sings the right song with regards to therapy to appear normal. Now, in its defense, it was done at a time when that was the approach, that was the thought, that it was an impairment that you could treat, it was an impediment that you could right, and that normal speech was an achievable outcome. Um, we approach it with a different set of eyes nowadays, and I do understand that. But still, you have this success story, so to speak, that is sung because of the relative fluency achieved at the end. Why I say about the reenactment, I was very, very lucky to be involved in a project that Captain Jimmy Lang, MBE, and I stood up. So we got stammering service people to reenact the King's Speech on the 80th anniversary of the original speech, and we got it aired on British Forces News, and we actually got the Royal Stationers to redo the King's Speech in the old font, and actually looks very smart. So that was done by stammering service people, and we ranged from a brigadier right the way down to a naval rating, and it was a nice demonstration that we're still here, but unfortunately have the same challenges, struggles, and issues that we have to contend with.
Right.
But as a moment, as a film, I say nice that it sheds a light that is on stammering. I'll always applaud uh, activity within our space. Was it the right message? We'll see. Not entirely sure.
Right. Right. Um. Yeah. That. That. You know. That movie. It. I mean, it took me a long time to watch it from start to end, because watching him speak, I mean, it had brought back all of my school memories, and and so it took me a long time to just watch the whole thing, but it is a great movie. And so um, let's head back, you know, for a bit, um, as we are talking about school. Okay, what advice would you have to parents, teachers, and speech therapists with regards to um, children who stutter?
I'll do the teaching bit separately, and remind me if I forget. um, Children, if I was to look back at the old me, I would say to them, unfortunately, that not a lot's changed from an attitudinal point of view, but to still realize and understand their strengths, focus on their strengths, and don't necessarily see speech as a weakness. Um, Equally, even if someone does and is fixated on the speech as a weakness, understand that all of their peers will have their own weaknesses. Whilst they may be fluent, there will be some in the room that are not as able, not as capable, not as able to do something, something, something. And equally, if you're in a top end business meeting as I am now, I've only just realized that while I'm worried about my speech, I'm confident in my content. The rest of the room might not be, even though they might be fluent. Parents, unfortunately, a lot of parents are very ill equipped to um, really nurture children that stammer nowadays, through no fault of their own, if they're fluent themselves. But please reach out to charities that are out there. If you're a parent of a child that does stutter or does stammer, please just go onto Google, find any local groups, networks, peer support groups, and just get talking, even to other parents that themselves don't know. Together, you'll make a plan that will be better than no plan at all. Teachers, and this is where it falls down for me. Teachers for me are more important than speech therapists, more important than social work, more important than anything. Peter Bradley and I, who I believe you've spoken to, um, Peter Bradley and I actually set up a community interest company. So we teach in a university that makes teachers to educate them about what stammering is and how to facilitate the best from stammering students. Um, and you would be surprised as to how well it's gone down. Basically, teachers did not know that what stammering was and how to manage it. They were still would felt fall very much into the calm down sort of narrative through no fault of their own. So teachers that are out there, please engage with a stammering charity or stuttering charity that is nearby. Someone will be able to point you in the direction that you need to be. If you're within Northern Ireland, please get in touch with Stranmillis, and obviously you can undertake the same course. But yeah, the sort of patience to listen, not overbear, not correct, not finish sentences, not preempt. Equally, someone don't misunderstand someone's inability to pronounce something as a lack of knowledge. It's just how they're talking. But as I say, there's different things there. But teachers for me are key in this, because ultimately they're going to spend more time with their child or as much time with the children as their own parents. They'll be better informed than most of their parents, and they have greater scope and footprint to do more with it. So for me, teachers are the future in this, fluent teachers. So yeah, sorry for rambling, but it's something
Oh,
which I think is important.
no, 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 no. That is awesome. And so oh Pete, oh my God, I had him on. He is hilarious. He told a joke at the end, which I cannot say, but
Good.
it was it was awesome. And so if you have the time, I want you to head back and so hear the podcast where where I had him on, and he told a joke that I am still. I laugh so hard, I'm crying. He is hilarious, and so am. I am just beyond, you know, proud to have you and Pete teach a class to our future teachers to help educate them. I mean, because I mean, I wish, I wish I had that when I was in school. I mean, no, I had rough, teachers who who would have me read out loud, Jamie. It was horrible. Yeah.
Oh yeah, here, listen. I get it, and I get the, when you're having to read out a certain number of sentences, and if you're a stammerer or stutterer, you'll sort of count along who you are. You'll scroll down mentally as to what sentence you're going to have to do. You try to rote learn it, or you obviously shite yourself in panic because you're not going to be able to do it. That's ingrained in all of us. Even having to like feign a toilet break halfway through, you know what I mean? It's almost amazing that we've all have the shared experiences, despite obviously being thousands of miles apart. But it emphasizes the level of ignorance with regards to stammering that's out there. Pete and I got in touch because he's a firefighter. I'm not sure if he was then. Yeah, he's a firefighter. I do what I do, so I'm very fortunate that I was accepted into the force, and then I commissioned in 2015, and yeah, a lot of the stammering role models that have been pushed my way by teachers probably didn't inspire me, and that says more about me than them. Don't get me wrong, but being able to see people who could go out, succeed in the eyes of the fluent public, but still overtly stammer, for me, we're sort of lacking, and that's why Pete and I decided to sort of knock this together, and that's what we do. So we go in, teach student teachers who have really enjoyed it. Feedback's been great, and just try to get the best out of them. So yeah, so far so good.
How cool. Yes. I mean, I could talk to Pete for days. I mean, we were having our podcast interview, and he, like you, he had he had some, libations. And so, I mean, we had the best time, Jamie. Let me tell you, we laughed and we talked, and I mean, he is just awesome. He is a huge inspiration, a huge inspiration. So, yeah,
It doesn't say an awful lot for like the Northern Ireland like contingent whenever we're just drinking during your podcast, but
it's
it
all
is what it is.
good. It's all good, sir. It's all good. Okay, now, um, had you ever had any issues job wise because of your stammer?
um, no is the honest answer. Now, what I would say is I suspect there are certain jobs or certain little tasks that have come up that weren't given to me because people would have felt that I wouldn't be able to do it or was uncomfortable doing it. Um, that would be the only thing. What I would say is there's definitely been career issues with it in that I haven't probably pursued things where and when I should have through fear of my stammer. I studied physiotherapy, which was excellent. Um, in hindsight, if I'd been more confident in my speech, would have done something else, perhaps. Um, it's one of those things. Don't get me wrong, I'm very content with where I've been, what I've done. But if I'd been fluent, would have attacked life a little bit more at 18, 19 years of age, perhaps. So any thing that's been inhibited has probably been done by me. In truth, um, which says a lot. But
I'm right there with you, Jamie. Sir, I am right there with you. I am your twin. I mean, school wise, my goal was I wanted to be a lawyer. I love
mm,
to argue. I mean, I grew up arguing. And so I said, I want to be a lawyer. However, I mean, you hit it right on the nose. I am my own worst enemy. I watched a movie. I don't know if you've heard of it. My cousin Vinny,
yep,
Okay, well, as you know, sir, there is a courtroom scene, and and so when I was in college over the weekend, I went to go see that movie, and after I watched that courtroom scene of that attorney who was trying to do his opening statement, I said, "That is not going to be Pedro, not going to be Pedro." And so what I did that Monday morning, I changed my major from pre-law to mental health.
Yeah,
Now, I love what I do. Like you, I love what I do. However, me, I would have been a great attorney. Would have been but I mean, I had it in my head if, I mean, um, it, um, in the courtroom, you know, and watching that 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 attorney just, just repeat and block and just hidden that piece of wood on the jury. I
yeah,
mean, it's like, no, that will not be Pedro. And so I said, no, I have to do what I have to do because it's called I have to sur- I have to survive. And so, I chose mental health. I have a bachelor's in psychology. I have a master's in IO, in psychology. And so I love what I do. However, I will always have it in the, back of my head, I
yeah.
could have been an awesome attorney.
And you can take the sort of the philosophical stance to say perhaps it's sort of fate to a point. Focus on what you're able to do. Focus where we are. Do the best that we can be. But there's no denial, certainly, that I have tempered what I've done and where I've done it as a result of my speech. I'm sure we aren't alone.
Exactly,
Um,
sir.
if you look at engineers, I was very fortunate to be invited to do an audit of a engineering school, basically. Um, People are more vocationally minded, more practically minded. The level of SPLDs within that space are high, but I'm confident if you start, as I did, if you start to scratch the surface, the prevalence of stammering is higher than the norm because you've got people who are able but have elected to do a vocational subject so as to stay away from speaking to people. So they're doing something practical. That's not to say they are not able or were not able to have pursued academia, but unfortunately have put their hand up, taken a knee, and they've yielded. Hopefully, all are happy in their life choices. They'll inevitably earn much more than I do, despite pursuing further education. Um, but it doesn't sit comfortably with me that some people still in 2022 might be electing to take a practical subject because of their speech and not confident that the educational environments, systems are able to accept them and progress them and assess them fairly. So yeah,
Ooh, I mean, you make a great point. The old Pedro, you know what, 24 hours a day, Jamie, I was controlled by fear. 24 hours a day. It told me everything that I had to do because I had a stutter. That was the old Pedro. And now the new Pedro, no, I don't care. I don't care if I stumble. I don't care if I block. I don't care if I repeat cuz I love Pedro. He has a stutter. It doesn't define who I am. It is just what I have and it is okay. And I am going to do this. I'm going to rock this out. And so had I had that back in the day, Jamie, whoo, yeah, I would have been an amazing attorney. But
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
But it's life. You have to
yeah.
learn by burn. You know what I
It,
mean? I
oh,
certainly,
hold on,
I
hold
I was
on.
naive. Go on. Hit me with your wisdom.
Okay, hold on. If you can repeat that line, because I love it.
Learn
Learn
by
after you
burn.
burn.
Learn by burn.
Learn by burn. I am going to put that on a t-shirt and send you all the money. Learn by burn. I mean, ooh, because I don't have to tell you. We have to work harder than anybody else. Anybody else. You know, in doing things that other people who don't have a stutter, they they don't have an issue with. However, me, ooh, I may have a block, I may have a repetition, but I don't care how long it takes me. I'm going to do this. So yes, sir. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, now I want to touch on you were in the Air Force. I was in the Air Force. So I want to ask you how was it with having a stammer?
It's an excellent question. If I'm honest, and it probably follows on from the learn by burn and hits a bit sort of close to home. So I probably would have pursued the military immediately after school and didn't because I wasn't brave enough, is the honest answer. Went to university, studied physiotherapy, which I believe in, still believed in, have experienced and do wonderful things to wonderful people. Um, my elective placement at the end of university was in a military rehabilitation unit where I was exposed to a different patient population, and that motivated me to join the military. So I joined the Army Reserve initially as an infantry to try to get a little bit of experience with regards to how to manage a little bit of military know-how, rank structure, skills and drills, etc. But my intention then was very much still to join as a physio and be a regular. During that period, I had to get 3 years civilian employment in a specialist area of physio to be eligible to apply. And then in that period, stayed as a reserve. But I moved to the Air Force Reserve primarily because of opportunities near to where I was. My best friend and best man actually was in the Air Force at the time. So I gave that a go. To be a physio in the Air Force, one had to commission. So I did that. So I popped out of RAF Cranmer at a flying officer as a flying officer in June 2015 as a reservist initially, and then sort of continued on. With life, as I've intertwined that, civilian employment hit a point where I was working hard, and the reserve piece on top was just quite a lot. But where I'd gone within physio was physio was I was working within medical audit and then had moved into sort of training off the back of medical audit. So I saw a post coming up as a training officer within the Royal Air Force, and I applied, and I was very fortunate to get it. So I started full time, so from January 21. So yeah, not long enough to have argued that I'm good at it, but long enough to have
I
been
mean,
in it to
I mean,
have
it's, I
experienced it.
mean, it is all good, sir. It is all, I mean, um, when I joined, I had a couple of issues. However, I hammered on. I, I did not quit because I knew if I go back home, there isn't anything. I don't have anything at home. And so this is it. This is my out. This is my out. And so, I went all over the world, Jamie. I went to, Turkey and Greece. I went to England, Lakenheath. Back in the day, we would do our TDYs. We would hop here and there, hop here and there. It was awesome. I loved the Air Force. I had awesome, awesome people around me, who would help me and support me and guide me, and that was just awesome. So I had the best time in the military.
I found the military, so whenever I commissioned, which is June 2015, I found the military considerably more supportive and appreciative of my speech than civilian employment.
Exactly.
I wrote a small piece that was very fortunately published by the British Stammering Association. If you Google it, it might still be there. I don't know. Commissioning with a stammer.
Awesome.
Um, but I found the military much, much more supportive than civilian employment, which is why I felt I had to take pen to paper. Hold on, just going to fill up my beer. So that's there. Since I've commissioned, again, there might be an element of banter, but it very much is banter. There's no bullying as a result of it. Um, my general experience within the military, within speech, as I say, has been more supportive. I think it makes sense because so many people, there's probably more used to dealing with a diverse range. They're more used to saying, right, this guy or girl can do this well, but this poorly. So there's the application of common sense and just the realization that some things they can do well and some things they can do less well. But generally, the support I've had within the Royal Air Force has far surpassed previous civilian employment. Yeah.
How cool. Awesome, sir. Yes, go Air Force. US and the Royal Air Force in your country. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, now I want to talk about, our pandemic. I mean, if you are a person who stutters, it has pushed us. And I mean, ooh, and hold on, Jamie. I mean, because I am passionate. It has pushed us out of our comfort zones. I mean, that we no longer are at the office, um, hand in hand and face to face. We now have to be behind a camera with our laptop, with a headset. And I mean, when I first heard that I would have to do that, I kid you not, Jamie, I went into panic mode. Can I do this? I mean, what if I can't do this? I mean, I won't have a job anymore. I won't have any income. And so I was highly blessed to, to be able to work from home. And so what I did was I called a buddy. I said, "Hey, help me practice on Zoom because if I don't, I'm going to be out of a job. It's going to be horrible." Um, Horrible. And so me and him, we had rehearsed and practiced until when I had to do it, I had some hiccups, but it's okay because I mean, it's all good. Um, However, the more that I did it, it became just a little bit easier and then a little bit easier. And so, I want to ask you, how has this new normal, how has it, impacted your, work life?
Um, so lockdown, the first lockdown, it fell whenever I was still in civilian employment and had the same fears with regards to being confined to being a screen and a headset. In a strange way, because we were used, so in my old job, we used MS Teams very significantly. Being a floating set of initials that sort of lit blue gave me less fear because the thing is, I could do silly things to appear fluent. I could stand, I could make funny facial expressions, I could do what I needed to do, I could tap my feet, do whatever I needed to do to appear fluent for those that were on the call. Um, so initially that was okay. I found actually I was much more fluent using a headset than a phone for some odd, unusual reason, and certainly standing much better. So I generally stood. Um, but unfortunately, you shouldn't even have to go down this fact finding mission. I mean, we do. I get that. So certainly at the very start, as you said, there was that immediate sense of panic and turmoil. I feel generally I got it on okay with it, but certainly after um, having to manage immediate fears, that were there. It got to the point where screens on was actually beneficial, because I think reading body language helped, an element of lip reading probably. Seeing if someone was taking the piss, which was helpful, because if you do stammer or block, it's nice to see who's in the room, who's kind, and who's an arsehole. But yeah, so I think I adapted okay, but I still had the same fears.
You know, one helpful tip that I do, and I mean, it has helped me out, Jamie. I mean, I tell everybody, hi, good morning. I'm Pedro Peña. I have a speech impediment. I have a stutter. So if I get hung up on any word, I want you to give me 8 hours, and hopefully that word will come out. However, if you know what I'm trying to say, help you, be, because I believe that teamwork makes the dream work. And when I look at all of those cameras on the screen, and they are, I mean, and they have a smile, I said, it's all good. It's all good, because I got it out there. And then also, I told them, if I'm having a block, it is not your internet provider. It's just
Yeah.
Pedro. It's just Pedro that's having a block. So please do not go out of the webcam and come back. It's just me. And so it's all good. So I love humor. I put everything out there. And once it's out there, I don't even have to talk about it anymore. I go into our meeting, I go into our presentation, and then I rock it out. I rock it out. I still block. I still repeat. However, it's all good. It's all good.
Totally. And the thing is, the idea of like not even acknowledging it or pretending like it's not there, it's just absurd. I'm exactly the same. Often the second slide of any brief that I do is to introduce me and the fact that I A, have an incredibly thick Northern Ireland accent, and B, have a speech impediment. So if you don't understand, ask. Similar jokes with regards to like as a Wi-Fi like connectivity, and then me equally if you're in person and I have a sort of an active block, I'm not having a stroke or an acute cardiac event. It's just a stammer. I I'm I don't know why people are less able or willing to have a discussion about the stammer. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but loads of people won't even acknowledge that they stammer, will not discuss that they stammer. Nearly will deny that they stammer. It's like you do. It's fine. We're part of the same fraternity. We'll help each other out. And it undermines the idea that openness, honesty, getting it out there, it's all being good. That is absolutely the way that we need to push this. But
I mean,
until we all do, then yeah.
I mean, you make, a great point. I can't hide this. There's no way. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
now I could do an accent. Okay, and mind you, Jamie, they're horrible. They're horrible. However, when I talk in an accent, I don't stutter. It's a head scratcher. It's quite lovely. I don't know why. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I apologize to everyone in the UK. But I mean, yeah,
But the thing is, like, we shouldn't have to sing to each other to be fluent,
exactly.
just to
Exactly.
appease those in the briefs.
Exactly.
You're very unfortunately not from Cockney London. If you were, you'd make a darling Cockney. But we aren't.
Yeah.
But some people who I had a boss many years ago who clearly had a stammer. To mitigate his stammer, he did a lot of like physical tics.
Yeah.
Fine, I acknowledge that. I see that for what it is, no problem. I approached him about stammering and about a fundraiser that I was doing, and he completely essentially denied that he stammered,
Yeah.
had no interest in it, and yeah, like what? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
you are one of no. He's clinging on with his fingernails to try to be fluent. fearful of being stigmatized, fearful of any misconceptions with regards to stammering. I don't know. I don't know.
Uh, um, there is still out there a bunch of you know you know stigma regarding people who stutter. So I mean, uh, the goal of what I am doing and have been doing for a you know for a couple of for a couple of years now is um is to go and raise awareness and to educate. Here is what I have, and here is what you will see and hear. Because I have a lot of facial tics. I roll my eyes, I close my eyes, I look over there, I look over here. I mean, I talk with my hands, which I'm sure you have noticed, and it's just me. It's just Pedro. But it's okay because I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I know I'm awesome. So it's all good.
Yep.
It's all good. Okay, sir. And so now, okay, I know you had briefly touched on this, but I want to ask you what I think is a hot topic. I mean, and I have asked everyone on my podcast, and so all of the answers have been split right down the middle. But it's all good because we are all different. It's all good. But I want to ask you this. So, do you let others finish your your finish um your um your thoughts? I'll say that because that S word gets me every time.
No, that's the answer. I think it's incredible. It's incredibly rude when people do. Um, age and age and maturity gives me the ability to say no. Part of that, I would have been sort of manically angry, borderline aggressive, which I'm not proud of. Um, it's it's very clear that we
Yeah,
know the word we're trying to say.
right.
It's probably a good word, better than the vocabulary of the listener would have gone through.
Yes, sir.
So they can just sit and listen and wait.
Exactly.
My opinion is people who stammer are worth waiting for,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. We've proven ourselves, as you said earlier, to be creative. I'm pretty confident if you look through the studies, we're probably better with numbers as well. I'm not sure of any other population that are more creative and better with numbers
Yes, sir.
than others. So chances are, if we feel the need to push ourselves, to stick our hand up, to have that courage, to accept that we're going to stammer, if we are going to intervene and say something, just listen, because it's going to be worth listening to. Anyone that interrupted me or tried to finish my sentences previously offended me. Nowadays, as an adult, I would just gall them. I would rip them out, inside out,
Yes, sir.
upside down, no problem. If I witnessed it happening to a more junior stammerer, I would go both barrels. And yeah, whether or not that's antagonistic or overly aggressive, I don't know, perhaps. But this knock-kneed misconception of us being uncharismatic and unthreatening,
Hmm.
maybe we have to shirk that too.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Yes, yes. Okay, now, um,
there is a yeah,
no, go, 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 go.
there is certainly like a sort of misconception out there that we're sort of knock-kneed, uncharismatic, meek, mild. Um, we're dispelling it slowly, but maybe we have to go full bore. Maybe if we are rude, we need to get assertive with putting them down, them like the fluent population. But yeah, education only goes so far. Education only works with those who wish to be educated. Um, I suspect if someone's going to talk over you, they don't fall within that category, and you just need to, again, have them sort of learn by burn and realize that actually, whoa, these guys know what they're doing. I'm just gonna never do that again.
Um, s- s- so, um, have you ever had this happen to you? If you are meeting a person for the first time and they ask you your name and then you have a block. However, I mean, it's a block. And then
Yeah,
the other person, I'm asking you, did you forget your name? Has it ever happened to you? And, if it has, how did you handle it?
yeah, very frequently. It's a sort of go-to, isn't it? It depends if you allow swearing in your podcast or not. Depending on the demeanor of the other. Often I would just say, look, at the outset, I would say, look, I have a stammer. Um, it might take a while. My name is. If I do block, hopefully they're armed for it. I block and fine. If I start to speak, I block and they come out with a "Did you forget the name?" I generally light into them, if I'm honest, and say something along the lines of "Who the fuck forgets their name? I have a stammer. Just shut the fuck up." Which I'm not proud of. But whenever I find I'm quite an easy breezy dude. I'm pretty measured, pretty chill. But if someone has a go at my speech, I would be uh, very quick to flare, which is not a strength, which is my own weakness, which I do need to work on. Um, but it is an area that I think sometimes people just need to get no, just shut the fuck up. I have a speech impediment. I have a stammer. You sit. You listen. You've got two ears, one mouth. Shut up. Um, so yeah, it's a mixed bag depending on the tone of the conversation. Sometimes I am easily flared, which, as I say, I will work on. Evidence is obviously king. Education is king. But sometimes people are dicks. So
Ooh, I mean, I have to tell you, Jamie, because the old Pedro, I would lose it. I mean, I would go off on them. I mean,
mm,
I would say every word in the book, and when I curse, I don't stutter because I don't have time because I want to get all the curse words out.
yeah,
However, that was the old Pedro. The old Pedro, back in the 80s, the 1980s, way before you were born. Back in the 80s, I mean, I was just angry, angry, angry. However, now I just educate. I mean, what I do is I respond with kindness, integrity, and
hmm
professionalism, and tell them I have a stutter. So it may take me a little bit longer to respond to answer your questions. All that I want is what you want. I want I want your patience and respect because what I have to say, it matters. So yeah.
yeah. And I think that is overwhelmingly the right path. And education and kindness work for 90+% of the population, wherever you are. But I do just think there are some dicks. And and yeah,
They're
I think
everywhere.
those yeah, I think
they're
they
they're everywhere, Jamie.
I think they just need reamed. I've probably gone slightly more my side with a little bit more age, certainly mid 20s. I was very much just educate kindness. Now, mostly educate kindness, but some people just need reamed because they're just rude,
I
and
got you,
it's
sir.
fine if I'm 33 as an adult, and I can retort, I can respond. 16-year-old me, 15-year-old me wouldn't be able to. I'd probably be like haunted by that conversation for the rest of my life.
Oh
He can't let
yes.
he can't let this dick walk around, treat stammerers like that. The number of times I haven't been able to pick up a sort of medication that is for me because someone behind the till has decided, because I haven't passed the IDV, because I can't say my name and my home address, I'm obviously trying to steal this antibiotic fraudulently. It's like, no, you're not the guardian of medication. Just accept that I have a stammer. You know what I mean? So anyway, as I say, at times I haven't been very proud of myself with how I've reacted, but even with hindsight, sometimes I would do it again.
See, and you bring up a great point of being, of going to go pick up your medication at the pharmacy. I was pulled over, you know, and yes, I was speeding. We are here in Texas. I was going 80, yes, yes, yes. I'm guilty. It's all good. I'm guilty. However, when I got pulled over, I couldn't say my name. I couldn't say hello. I couldn't say anything. And so the policeman thought I was lying.
Mm.
He thought I was lying. And so what had to happen was when I had to go to court, and that took like a whole month. But when I had to go to court, here I go all over again. I'm in a courtroom. A little trigger, Jamie, a little trigger. And so when I go into that courtroom and talk to the judge, I told him, I mean, it's either I get this out or I'm going to jail. I'll pay the fine, pay the ticket. I will not survive in jail. And so I told the judge, I said, I am guilty. I do have a speech impediment, so I wasn't able to respond to the policeman how he wanted me to. And guess what that judge did? And dismissed. He dismissed it. He dismissed it. He's like, I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate you telling me about the issue of your stutter because they need to they need to they have to be educated. And the cop was in the courtroom and the judge told everybody. I said, thank you, judge. Thank you, judge. Ooh. I mean, because I was like, I cannot go to jail. This will not survive in prison. So just
I understand that well. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
No, but that's excellent. And it's excellent that you had that judge, because I made a point actually a few years ago when a lot of stammerers were in a room and talking about success stories and how far we've all come, which is nonsense. I made the point that actually we're still at the mercy of one often fluent person. So yes, you might have a supportive manager, you might have a supportive judge that goes, no guys, we've got this wrong, or you go and do your thing because you're awesome at it. But actually, we could still be quashed and just ignored and sidelined, marginalised and forgotten about. You could have gone to jail because the judge wouldn't have believed you either. And even if you'd appealed it, and you would have won an appeal. Don't get me wrong, you'd have won an appeal. But by that time, you'd be like a spatchcock hen, stuck to the underside of some bunk, and that's not going to be good for anyone.
Okay, Jamie, let's move on because you're triggering me. You are spot on, sir. Spot on. You are hashtag awesome. Okay, now here is a huge question, another hot topic, and again, I ask all my guests, and all of the answers are split down the middle. I respect all of their answers, and so let me ask you this: do you consider stuttering a disability?
Yes. I'll explain why. I'm not sure when, but at the moment within the UK, if it takes you twice as long to perform an activity due to a disability, then your function has reached a point where it's like deemed to be significant. Okay. So if you can argue that your speech takes you twice as long to say something, then it satisfies the criteria of disability. So there's no point in me beating my drum about my stammering, about what we do, about what I do, about what we overcome, in my opinion, and only my opinion, if I don't just say, yeah, therefore, by my own argument, I can be disabled. Um, doesn't mean I'm useless, doesn't mean I'm thrown away, doesn't mean I'm redundant, but certainly within this realm of speech, yeah, it can mean that I am disabled. Yeah.
All right, sir. I thank you for that. I thank you for that. All right, let's head on into another direction. Now, I noticed that you have a ring like I do,
Mm-hmm.
and so I want to ask you, dating, okay, before you were married, dating with having a stutter, how was that? How did you navigate those waters, Mr. Jamie Wilson?
Um, Unfortunately, much more frequently than I should have. But there were little things. So despite your very flattering guess of my age, I would have dated at the time when we didn't have like sort of mobile phones. You had to phone the house phone. You know, you spoke to probably the father or the mother that would answer the phone. And I did, on occasion, not go out with people whose name I would struggle with because I knew I would struggle with saying the name. And on one occasion, vividly, I did go out with someone whose name I couldn't say because they were very attractive and they were quite good banter. But yeah, phone the house phone, father answers, can I speak to? Then you block on the name of their child. Doesn't set you off to a particularly good start. So yeah, that's just it the so speech embedded itself within dating. I was very fortunate that I would seldom stutter when I was out drinking, meeting people for the first time. It was generally actually only whenever I got to know them that they would notice my speech to some extent, and if I still spoke to them, they were probably quite nice rather than horrible. Um, but yeah, it definitely impacted dating whenever I was young, and that ranged from not going on dates with people whose name I would struggle to say right the way through to being selective with how I communicated. Yeah, strange. I see when you think about it.
See, and you had the house phone, but back in my day, Jamie, we had the pagers. I don't know if you know what a pager is.
Oh yeah, so here, like house phone like sort of predates pager. Here
Oh yeah,
we had phone, pager, house phone. That was the
yeah,
order. Or sorry, phone, a pager, and a mobile.
yeah,
That's the history of IT here.
yes. However, we had the old telephones that had the rotary dial. I mean, the old ones, Jamie Wilson. And so let me tell you, if you hit a number and go all the way around, you will hear back. I said, "Oh, great! The phone is now making fun of me." I mean, we had the rotary phones; they were horrible. I said, "How can you do that to a stutter, a person who stutters?" But no, I got over it. I got over it. I adapted. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, now, so okay, I want to ask you, what do you to think about all this new technology? You have Google Home, you have Siri, you have Alexa. Do you think all this new technology, this new AI technology, is helpful or hurtful for people who stutter?
It's a good question. I see. I don't really know is the honest answer. I find voice recognition things very difficult, but probably as much as an accent problem rather than a stammering problem. Um, Whenever things are designed, it's in Silicon Valley. It's not in East Belfast. I think it does emphasize issues with your speech. So if you are conscious about pronunciation of uncertain sounds and phonics, there's no doubt that having a machine telling you, blah, not understood, say again, isn't particularly helpful. It's a shame that we even have to experience it. Obviously, if I would propose that if you made other technology that was initiated by a physical movement, it would be lambasted because it would sort of marginalize people who couldn't do that. But as soon as it's about speaking and speech, they don't give a shit. I mean, if you can't speak, you're weird. It's not. That's it. End of.
And I mean, um, my only contention is that they don't give you enough time to respond. Maybe like a second or two. However, for me, I need like a minute to just you know do my deep breathing and maybe some yoga and some meditation, and then I'll do it. However, but by then it's like I can't understand you, or please repeat,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, so I'm done with you. However, I have spoken to a lot of people who stutter, and they use it as a means to practice, which
Yeah.
I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. I can understand that. Um, I don't know. I just generally find it very unsympathetic to people who struggle to speak, to use a voice recognition.
Um, now there are a bunch of um, universities who are doing research into AI to help people who have a speech impediment, and so I think that is great. So yeah, I'm hoping down the road, in my lifetime,
Yeah.
Okay. So what is a challenge speech wise that you had to overcome, and how did you do it?
The most the most common ones that I came into contact with were probably bus tickets and ordering things. And why I say that was because at the time in my life when my speech was probably worst was my like early adolescence, mid adolescence, where I had to get the bus to school and then go out after school and order food. Um, and I overcame it in a way that I probably, in hindsight, wouldn't do. But at the time, as a teenage boy, you want to try to appear normal, or at least, or at least different. Um, So yeah, bus tickets. I'm still haunted by having to buy like a bus ticket for the next town, if that makes sense. That I can say, ordering things very typically, I would order something that I could say rather than what I wanted. So avoidance was prevalent throughout my entire adolescence, um, where it was possible. So much so, a lot of people probably didn't even realize I had a stammer officially. They probably just thought I was a bit, I don't know, strange at times. Um, but that's certainly how I coped with it. Not to say that's how you should cope with it, but that's how I coped with it. But I had very little assistance or support from a stammering perspective, despite the fact that, as I said earlier, my mother stammered. She stopped stammering when she was a very young child. I had no contact with anyone who stammered um, as an adult. The one other boy who stammered within my school did not want to talk about the fact that he stammered at all. Lovely guy, excellent rugby player. If he ever listens to this, God-given talent that was wasted. But anyway, um, he did not want to acknowledge or talk about the fact that he stammered at all. So it left me very much adrift from that. So avoidance was my only real coping strategy at the time. If I was to go back, I would be much more confident with just stammering, asserting myself, and asking that people be much more patient. Um, but yeah, I wasn't there, I suppose, emotionally then.
So, do you think it's okay to stutter, or is it important to keep chasing the fluency gods?
Good question. I think it's okay to start. Stutter is the quick answer, but I'm going to shirk the trend of probably most, and I'm still going to acknowledge speech as a weakness of mine. There are times in life when appearing fluent or being fluent is important, be it critical, be it a kinetic environment, for example. There is no time for patience. There's no time for feelings. Sometimes I believe it's important to have fluent speech, but I feel that the acknowledgement of our strengths still goes underutilized and underappreciated because so many people who stammer and stutter are not filtered appropriately by application and interview. So hopefully that answers that question. But yeah, I'm not of the opinion that we're all equal. We all speak just as well because I do not speak as well as people who do not stammer. But I just feel that there should be greater appreciation of the strengths that we can bring, which I do feel falls short and continues to fall short. Even nowadays, if you look at most job applications, certainly within the UK, the list of a myriad of diversity buzzwords that they want to push, but they'll still say must have excellent verbal and written communication. It's like, well, that marginalizes me then. That pushes me to one side. So yeah, anyway.
What has your stutter taught you?
Empathy and resilience. I think I'm generally quite well placed with understanding the room, first and foremost, because I'm used to listening more than talking. I'm used to acknowledging someone who might be going through something from the empathy and sympathy point of view, also empathy. And then resilience. I'm very well accustomed to being put down and having to get back up again. Stammering for me whenever I was young was one thing I would change if I could have, with any cause, with any cost, with any. Whereas as an adult, I wouldn't change it for the world.
I got you, sir. I thank you very much for that. And what advice would you give to another person who stammers?
Of my age or younger. Be brave, be yourself. It's a simple answer. A lot of people will try to make your decisions for you, judge you prematurely, and probably isolate you in some way. But attack really on all fronts. Show your strengths. Succeed in spite of the prejudgment of others, and they will. I'm yet to meet someone who stammers, who is not more creative, more able, kinder, and more resilient than the average peer, and that is a fact.
That is awesome, sir. I thank you very much. And here's our last question, and it's a doozy. So here we go. So, if you had the opportunity to give in insight to the world about people who stutter, what message would you convey?
If someone who stammers is going to say something, it is worth waiting to hear. It's almost a certainty that it's an informed opinion if they're willing to try to speak at all. Equally, if you find yourself growing frustrated, waiting for someone to speak, that says more about you than them. And really, that's it.
How cool. Well, um, um, this is the end of our podcast episode. However, I want to tell you, Jamie, that I've had the best time with you here, today. I know, with me being here in Texas, time wise, and you in, Northern Ireland, I appreciate you. You are hashtag inspirational, hashtag awesome. And so I want to thank you for telling us your journey and, and sharing it, because I believe there's healing in telling our stories. And so, I want to thank you. Um, okay, now, I have the best listeners from all over the world. If they wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way to have them reach out to you?
If you go into Google, type in Belfast Stammer Support, you'll get a website which has been only recently updated as of yesterday, actually. And then within that, there'll have all the contact details as to the best way to get in touch with me, and also a message as to what we're about here in Northern Ireland.
All right, sir. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Uh, 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 I want to just thank you one more time. Um, thank you for being a guest. And down the road, I want to do this again. However, I want to have a beer just like you as we're doing this, because I think we'll have a much more livelier. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know, but I want to, do this again. Down the road. Let us know. How you are doing. If there's a project that you are working on, I would love to have you back here.
Thank you very much. Absolutely, and I definitely think that there's a niche for like beery podcasts, so we should definitely get that try. We'll always try to get that off the ground sooner
That
rather than
is
later.
a great idea, sir. So I'm going to write that down and have my lawyers contact you so we can get that started. All right, sir. I thank you so much. You take care, be well, and stay safe.
Cheers, Pedro. Thank you very much for your time.
I thank you, sir.